What's up, everybody? Welcome to another one of our weekly episodes on YouTube's favorite underground climbing channel. So here I am this weekend. If you're wondering why I didn't drop a video this weekend, my not so weekly episodes. Hopefully this comes out tomorrow, maybe on Tuesday or something like that. But anyway, here we are. I thought I was climbing this climb this weekend, and I thought it'd be interesting to talk about some subjects about it. Now, before you go ahead in the comments and write, why aren't you wearing your helmet? Because I'm always talking about helmets. Well, if we look down a little bit, you will see that my helmet is now my tripod. So I didn't have a tripod, and I had to take one for the team and decide to wear no helmet on this one. And neither does my belayer. But anyway, so what's interesting about this climb? Well, this is a really huge overhanging top rope setup here. And it's hard to tell from this fisheye lens GoPro 360 camera I'm using. But here's a little drawing. Okay, it's kind of like a giant L. It's a giant overhang. And right outside this overhang, if I was to take a fall here, or at any moment, I would just become Tarzan and swing right into this tree over here on the left. So there's a hazard here, and my mission at the moment is to try to mitigate this hazard for my belayer, who's going to try it next. Now, of course, this is a hazard for me at the moment, right now. And there's a couple ways I could have dealt with it. And I think I'll show you me setting up this top rope system maybe in a later episode. I record that too. But this episode, we're just going to be getting into directionals. So the way gravity works, you see, is it wants to throw me in a different direction than I'm currently at. As soon as I fall off, I'm going to want to swing. So when you run into a situation climbing like that, you want to place gear that directs the rope in a different direction than nature would have it. So my mission right now is to do that. Now, what I could have done when I first started is I could have tried to grab some kind of stick or something and kind of climb or backwards climb this crack right here. Let me see if I can zoom in a bit of what's going on here. Boom. Okay, pitch up a little bit. Pitch up, boom. Okay, so right here is where I have to climb, but it's almost a zigzag. So I have to climb to the right 15 feet, and then as I start climbing left, the swing becomes less and less dangerous. But from here to the right, as I climb right, I just increase the swing more and more and more. And at the moment, there's two options I could have done. The safer option would be of me to try to get gear in and work my way to the right, placing gear as I work to the right and clipping in, and kind of almost like down climbing backwards. And that would have been time consuming, but eventually I'd get to a spot where I could set up an anchor system and lower straight down from and mitigate the danger. Now, the way I chose to do it is to assess my own climbing ability. I've climbed this climb before. I know the routes. I know my own skill and my ability. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just send it. So I'm going to go to the right here, and this is like maybe like a 5'9", 5'10" moves. And I'm going to get to the right. I wouldn't say it's really crimpy, maybe like full digit holds. And then, yeah, kind of hop up, do a pull up, and then kind of get on to the right, hop your right hand up. And then once you get way to the right, there's a big bucket where you get pretty much half your butt cheek on. So once I get up in that corner, what I'm going to do is place basically an anchor system. And what this is going to do is, like I said earlier, act as a directional for my belayer. Now, here's where hopefully this doesn't get too complicated for people. Okay? if I was to say, put this anchor system in and then just start climbing to the right, I can't clip into that and climb to the right, because then I would just swing back into the wall. So I have two ways of getting down right now without swinging. Okay, so one is put that gear in, and of course I say that without swinging and still continuing my mission, which is making a directional. So okay, let me try to break this down for you. So right now I'm placing gear right here, and I could place the gear, clip into it, and then just be lowered straight down. Then I could switch ends with my belayer. I could get on his end, he could tie into my end, and then he could climb straight up and not be worried about swinging out, becoming Tarzan. So that's option one. Option two is, if I wanted to continue the climb, I would have to take his belay rope that he's belaying me with me right now. He'd have to swing it over to me, which could be pretty difficult. Then I'd have to clip that belay rope into the anchor system that I'm currently building right now. Then, now that the belay rope is clipped in, I'm free to make my climb and exit left. Okay, and then get lowered down from the top. Okay, and then once I'm lowered down to the ground, the rope that's tied to me currently would become the belay line. He would tie into that end, and he could climb straight up. So I hope that makes sense. But you're going to see which option I choose right now. And I think I hang out here for way too long. So, which is basically why, I guess you could say, why I chose the first option. I hang out here so long building an anchor system and finding out which pieces fit here perfectly, and then I equalize them and everything. By the time I hang out here the whole time, I didn't feel like making my way to the end and trying the end of this climb. It's like a one arm lock off with, you're really stretched out there, just the tip of your toes are on the thing, and you're on a one arm, and then you're reaching way out. Especially for me, I'm not too tall of a guy. I have to reach way out to like maybe a 3-finger pocket, cut loose, slap your other arm up, and then mantle up on top of that thing. And so if you're not by the time you get to the end there, if you're not fresh, you're just gonna fall off anyway. So what I choose to do, and I'll just fast forward it from here. Okay, so now it's my belayer's turn, and what I talked about earlier should now come into fruition, if that's a word. It's now a reality, and we could visibly see what's happening here. Now, he could climb 513, okay, maybe a year and a half ago, but he hasn't done anything for a long time, and he's just getting back into the saddle here. So we don't know, he doesn't know what his climbing, quote unquote, climbing ability is. And a smart climber, a good climber, especially a very good trad climber, knows this one thing, his climbing ability. And he could mentally gauge what I guess you could call his fuel tank. He knows when he's going to reach empty and fall off. So he's gotten to this point, and he figured, hey, you know what? If I fall off during this little technical part here, I don't feel like going to swing into no tree. So hey, if you think you could do it, if you know you could do it, which I'm able to gauge my climbing ability, because a trad climber's first weapon, okay, his best weapon, I'd say, is knowing his climbing ability. You know, not some fantasy idea he has in his head of, oh, you know, not, you don't want to have beer goggles. Okay, you don't want to think you could do something. You have to know you could do something and know you can't. I know if I got out to that point where maybe, you know, I'm getting tired or not, I know I could back climb to where he's sitting and where he's hanging out right there. So I felt fine doing it. Okay, if I had any doubt, then I would. Like he's one of the best things my father's ever told me is a climb is only as dangerous as a climber is willing to make it. So you don't have to climb anything if it's dangerous. You're the person who chooses to do that. Okay, and that's one of the things with climbing. You get to choose the difficulty and the danger involved. Okay, no one's putting a gun to your head and telling you to go climb something. You choose to do it. So I knew my ability here. I knew I wasn't going to swing off. And even if I did swing off into the tree, it'd probably just be like a failure in my book, but it wouldn't be, you know, it wouldn't be too bad. I don't think I'd get damaged or hurt or anything like that. I'd just probably feel like an idiot. But anyway, so he climbs out here to the right now, making his way out there. And at this point, it's kind of like a high reach to the right, and he's taller than me, so you can reach way up there. But you have to be able to get real small. You have to get your legs real. You have to get real tight up in there and get your whole body up in there, which is kind of a hard move. So I mean, it's nice to be able to reach if you're tall, but if you're short, you can kind of toss yourself up in there. So where was I? You know, I guess I was going off on a little bit of a rant of the climbability, which is a important thing I kind of want to talk about at some point, is knowing your climbing ability. Another hazard about this climb is if you're swinging around, you don't want the rope scraping up against rocks up above there and sliding. There's a bit of a sliding on rock hazard up there, but there's no sharp edges, and that's another thing you have to always be aware about. You know, you always have to be aware about your rope on sharp edges and things like that. So if someone was to take a fall and a swing across that, you'd also kind of want to lower them at the same time a little bit. That way the rope isn't sliding at the same spot. You know, that's another little technique. You don't want the rope just in this kind of cutting in the same spot. It could be good to have a little bit of a slide and a little bit of a dynamic belay. Obviously can't do too much or else it'll swing into the tree or, you know, into the ground or something like that. So right here, he's trying to work this out for so long that he's probably getting to the point where it'd be better to back off and recuperate the whole thing. And now I think that just went through his head now. Okay, you know, maybe I should get back in there. So I think he's going to start making his way back into the crack he just crawled out from. And then at some point he realizes, you know what, it's better if I just lower down to the ground and start this all over again. And I'm sure at this point he's feeling pretty happy he has a directional. Now, if you're leading something, and let's say you were leading this from the ground up, okay? And you got up into that corner, you got up to where he is now, put gear in, got up into that corner I was in earlier, and then let's say I decided not to put any gear and just kind of run it out to the left and then place some gear over there at the end. The belayer would, when it's his turn to climb, if he was to fall, he would take a swing. He would take a swing. That's why these pieces that you put in are directionals for the following climber. Because if you don't think about the person that's climbing behind you and you just run things out over overhangs or whatever, the person behind you, if they take a fall, they're going to swing out, and then there's going to be no way for them to climb up and get to wherever your next piece is unless they have Jumars or whatever. They lower them back to the ground. So if you're climbing a climb like this in a trad climbing style, you would want gear across this top thing every couple feet. You don't want to place gear every 10 feet, every 5 feet, which is very taxing on the leader because he has to stop, hang out, get a piece in, move a little bit more forward, stop, get out, get a piece in. Now, of course, if the following climber is very strong, knows his ability, he doesn't think he's going to fall, then maybe it might be better not to place all that gear, and he could move across very quickly. So it depends on who you're climbing with. Climbing is it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. You have to, I guess this video is really talking about climbability. So I think that's enough of me yapping. If you like these videos and kind of my own analysis, let me know. And I'll see you next week's episode. Josh Perry, climbing out of here.